Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for being with us through this wonderful episode that we have lined up for you today. And thank you for being a good sport and always tuning in each and every Thursday on Icon Radio, your number one entertainment plug. And this is your show for everything movies and TVs. That's why we call it Certified Cinema. And I am your ever dependable host, the one, the only movie reviewer, movie recommender, and nerd evangelist, Campes Nawiri. And once again, thank you so much. And once again, we have some fantastic topics lined up for you today. Over the last 2 weeks, the buzz around town has been the Nairobi Film Festival, which concluded this week on Sunday. But before we, wrap up all the hype, because we're still in that space, we're still feeling the vibes, and we've been exposed to some wonderful films. And that is what we're going to be talking about today. We're going to be talking about the NBO Film Festival. I'm going to be doing a review of the event, a review of the movies I've seen, and we're also going to be talking about why film festivals are important and why they exist. You've heard of Cannes Film Festival, you've heard of Sundance Film Festival, and now Nairobi Film Festival, or NBO Film Festival. But why do these film festivals exist? Why is there a certain type of movies or film that show in film festivals? Why won't you find something like Avengers Infinity War showing at the Cannes Film Festival or Sundance Film Festival, but you will find The Smashing Machine, you will find Memories of Love returned at the NBO Film Festival. So what is the intention there? So that's what we're going to be getting into today, ladies and gentlemen, along with a fantastic fire playlist that we have for you today. And of course, you'll be getting into Read the Room, which is the segment where we highlight movies and TV shows to watch this week based on happenings in entertainment and happenings in global events. Because that's how we do, I like to bring this point up over and over again, art imitates life and life imitates art. So anything that you see in a movie or anything that you see happening in real life, best believe, trust you me, there's something, it's been highlighted in a movie or there's a movie about it. And that's what we're going to get into. And the more you watch a movie, the more you get to see, the dramatization of things, get to see how deep these issues go in society. And that is what Read the Room is all about. Now, without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, let's do our deep dive into the NBO Film Festival. Now, NBO Film Festival is, like the name suggests, a film festival held in Nairobi. Now, the purpose of NBO Film Festival, which we were privileged to be a part of, I hope you guys have seen the reviews that we've done so far. This year's NBO Film Festival contained a very interesting program. You see, the main idea of the Nairobi Film Festival is to connect filmmakers in Kenya and from around the continent to showcase their film here in Nairobi. Now, I like to think of us guys of Nairobi as, we are very sherehe savvy country, So I like to think of NBO Film Festival as the sherehe for us guys of film. So if you know anyone who's into the film space, like us, film critics, reviewers, a filmmaker, producer, director, or even just a cinephile all round, best believe you will find them at the NBO Film Festival. Na kama ulikuja hapo ukanidap, of course, shout out to you, man. If you attended and you are able to see us, kudos to you. You can find us at all these spaces. Now, this year had a very interesting concept, at least for me, because I finally got to experience the magic of African filmmaking, and this was not only featured films from, feature films from filmmakers around Kenya. We had Ethiopia, we had Nigeria as well. We also had filmmakers from New York coming into this. And they also had a partnership, or this year's film festival featured Shots, Shots, and Shots. Now, you guys remember Gertrude of DocuBox. Shout out to you, Gertrude. DocuBox is the documentary film fund that is the brains, or are the brains behind Shots, Shots, and Shots. So it really felt like a festival where you could see these films from far, from home, from far and beyond, from all types: feature films, romance films, documentaries, and also the short films as well. Now, I was privileged to watch 3 films and also attend Shots, Shots, and Shots, which again, from that name, that is by far the coolest film event I have personally been to, and even concept-wise, that is the coolest event concept I've ever had. You know, you wear shorts, watch short films, and of course, sherehe savi, tunapiga shots. Were you there? Me, I was there. And that's what we want to talk about once more. Now, first of all, yeah, like I said, my first impression of the NBO Film Festival was it did feel like a very, 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 very sherehe of film festival. From the number of films, I think there were 28 feature films from across the continent, as well as the short films. Now, I got to see 3 films and then Shots, Shots, and Shots. Now, first of all, we got invited to the opening night, where we got to see how to build a library. And from the review that I saw, I was very, I feel like this was the perfect way to start a film festival. Because how to build a library, if you've seen the review, check out our Instagram page, Certified Cinema KE, on Icon Radio KE. This is a movie about these 2 ladies who take on this initiative to renovate the Macmillan Library. Now, the fascinating thing about this is a public library. But these 2 ladies have taken it upon themselves to make it a personal initiative, go into their pockets, go find sponsors and donors to renovate a public library. Because the idea that they have is this was a library that was set up during a whites-only time, period. So all the books that are there, the systems, are meant to serve a colonial era of Kenya. So right now, where we have educated Kenyans, where we have a younger generation of creatives and literates coming up, the library doesn't serve the needs of the generation to come. So they're like, you know what, we want to renovate. It's in a dilapidated state, first of all, and we also need to update the books. So they set out on this journey, but, kidogo kidogo, Nairobi County, politics inaingia hapo. Again, they're just the 2 of them. They're self-funding the whole thing, so there's financial troubles there. And of course, those who are handling the system of the library, kuna what I like to call cultural inertia hapo, right? So we watch this documentary because we get to see their journey as they're going through this renovation process and the ups and downs that they go through. The most fascinating thing was that this is something that's happening in real time. And you know how we just passed by Macmillan Library in town, just so mundane, like some people don't even know Macmillan Library. You just know it's Jamia Mosque and there's that building with lions. That is Macmillan Library. Now you know. And that was the most fascinating thing, and how this is a real life occurrence, and how beautiful it was to see that they are actually making progress, to the point where they even make renovations for the branches of Macmillan Library, which are Makadara and Kaloleni libraries. You see them doing galas. You see people actually putting their money where their mouths are. Some promises are yet to be fulfilled. And they're making an actual difference, right? So I again say that this was a powerful way to open the film festival because, one, we've been talking about, we want to share African stories. This was a true African story. and it's happening in real time. It's not a work of fiction. It's not something that has been adapted from a book or something that has been copy pasted from what we've seen in Hollywood before. But the language and the faces are changing, to an African setting. No, this is something that is unfolding in real time, ladies and gentlemen. This is the story of development. This is a story that is an active, um, it's an active attempt at decolonization and putting the African child at the forefront. And that, to me, embodies what we mean when we say, let us tell our stories. I feel like, and it's making me think the strength of African film may be in documentary film. That's something that we can debate about. But this is me thinking out loud. And feel free to drop your comments on Instagram, Certified Cinema KE, or even send a voice note to WhatsApp, on the number running down the screen. I started to feel like the most impactful and the most entertaining and engrossing African stories are documentary films. Because when we talk about telling our own stories, we want something that's real, something that's happening on the ground, and documentaries cover the real stuff, the things that we actually go through, the stories that we talk about in our mats, on our dinner tables. And we also are championing stories that are impactful in the community. And How to Build a Library is one such story. People that are making an impact, and by the end of the film, okay, this is what's happening, and I can also make a difference. I can connect with those two ladies. I can donate however much I can. It's something that you watch and has a real life consequence and effect in the society that you're living in. And that's what I think was the whole idea of NBO Film Festival, to showcase African film, to showcase African stories. And that's why I say opening with How to Build a Library, which is an African story, which is an African film, and something that is very impactful, that will result in real life changes on the ground. Something that you walk out of the theater and it has you thinking like, wow, people actually go through this. You actually learn something and feel like, yeah, there's something I can do to make a difference. That's why I feel it was a powerful way to open the film festival, and it set the tone for what's to come. Because I walked out of there feeling like, wow, is this what we are up for? Is this what we are going to be seeing as time goes by? Then I will most definitely tune in to see more film. Unfortunately, I didn't get the time to see all 28 films. I got to see 2 more, which was the second one was Memories of Love Returned, which is a film directed by Ntare Guma Mbahomwine, who was our guest last week, Ugandan American actor and now director, and of course the grand jury winner for the NBO Film Festival, which was directed by Nigerian filmmaker Akinola Davis Jr. And we'll get to the reviews of that when we get to them. But first of all, I just want to say to the Nairobi Film Festival, good job, man. I mean, every time I walked into that movie, I felt like this is the start of the renaissance for African film, if you get my drift. Every time we've been saying we want to tell our stories, guys, for real, our stories are out there. Our stories are being documented. Our stories are being made. And just like Gertrude said, you just have to expose yourself. And if you missed it, Pole sana. But we'll catch you up on that. And that's a call to you, ladies and gentlemen. Make sure that anytime we're having these film festivals, you make a point to attend at least one film, or at least one event. Because truly, we've been talking about this thing like, why do Kenyan movies look and feel the same? And I am glad to say that not all of them look and feel the same. You just have to truly expose yourself. But I know it's confusing. I know sometimes you wonder, where do I get this information? What movies do I start with? But that's why you tune into Certified Cinema, because, we get these exclusives and we point you to which movie to watch, the feeling behind it, like when you want to watch how to build a library, do a review, and then now you get the gist of it. So always stay tuned to our pages, and we're going to go on a short music break. But when we come back, we're still going to get into the review of NBO Film Festival, what it means for Nairobi, what it means for Kenyan filmmakers, African stories, and of course, we'll also talk about the 2 films that we got to see, as well as shots. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back from that fantastic music break. And before we went on a break, we were talking about the NBO Film Festival, and we also went down a few films that we got to watch, and then we got into the music break, and with that we had Ngesh with Kaveve Kazoze. Shout out to you, Natasha. This one goes out to you. Once again, remember, you can always send in your requests. Drop it as a comment on our IG at Certified Cinema KE or Icon Radio KE, or send us the request through WhatsApp on the number running below your screen. So, Kaveve Kazoze by Ngesh, this goes out to you, Natasha. Then after that, Brenda came in with a request saying Nicheze Vile Inafaa by Octopizo featuring Mudhoni Drama Queen. That's an awesome throwback right there, man. Talk about Thursday, throwback Thursday, man. When Kenyan music was popping, right? Millennials were taking over, and I feel like millennials have always been taking over the Kenyan music scene. Gen Z wanna try, lakini the classics. Hapo now you have to give it to the millennials, man. And that was Vile Inafaa. Right after that, sasa tukakuja kwa Gen Z. We had Golden from the K-pop Demon Hunters movie, and again, I really love this song. It's really grown on me. I thought I wouldn't love the soundtrack as much, but this is taking over my playlist, and now I'm no longer hiding it. I'm saying it loud and proud. I absolutely love this song. It's no longer a guilty pleasure. I love it. TikTok loves it, and if you don't love it, get with the program. And then after that, we had also, this one was by Angel. Shout out to you, Angel. I know you love K-pop, so this goes out to you. And then we had Rose featuring Bruno Mars with APT, Amani Apata. I'll just say how she says it. Apata. Yeah, that one goes out to you, Zora. And finally, we brought it back home with Fresh by Nyashinsky. And, we're talking about, telling our own stories, sharing our own music. And I feel like Nyashinsky is really putting his best out there to make, to put Nairobi and to put Kenya on the map with his music. So make sure you see and listen to the entire album if you haven't already yet, because it's still banging, and you had it here. We're still listening to Fresh, because that's a fresh banger. See what I did there? I'm checking. It's all right. Now, let's get back to the topic of the day, which is NBO Film Festival. Now, right before we went for a break, I told you I got the chance to see 3 movies as well as attending Shots. Now, I want to first talk about Shots. And again, I cannot stress this enough. This is the coolest event I have been to this year in terms of film and screening events. So Shots. You wear shorts, we watch short films, and you take shots. Now, this took place at Shalom House on Gong Road, and it featured about a number of around 10 short films. from the country as well as others from the continent. And wow, once again, I am still just blown away by the sheer amount of talent that we have in this country in terms of filmmakers. We I got the chance to see, and I'm going to shout out the ones that I remember from the top of my head, because I was busy working, man, chasing that bread, doing this media thing, that I didn't get the chance to sit down and watch all the films. So I'm going to remember. I'm going to shout out to the ones that I remember. First of all, an absolute rib cracker, story za Njaba. Oh my god, man, that was my absolute favorite. And every time that movie was on screen, you could hear guys laughing their guts out because it was this. The situation itself is funny. Is we have these two guys who have been, it's set in the it's like a period piece set in colonial times. We have these two freedom fighters who have been sentenced to death by hanging, and then on their last moments it's just them cracking jokes, and it's dad jokes. So whoever tells you dad jokes are not funny, make sure they watch Stories and Jabba, because damn, that was hilarious, right? And it's nothing, it's not like a stand up comedy where, you know, um you have to like come up with a whole situation and write jokes. It's just the situation that itself is funny, and the way they're conversing with themselves, and the mood of the movie, the way it's so light-hearted. Oh, that just made you sit back, relax, and take in the dad jokes as they come. And that was an absolute favorite for me. Another one was Taingashira's movie, Know Thy Body, where now that one takes more of like this kind of um how like in Family Guy and American Dad and that whole line of animation, where they say something and then they reference it with a cutaway to show how absurd some situation is. Now this one we follow Taingashira on, he's on stage during one of his shows, and then those scenarios that he's voicing during his show are now, cuts away into now like a short film. For example, he's talking about, imagine how it would be funny if men went on, had a contraceptive pill. Now imagine you with the guys and he's like, hey, nani kujua tembe, nani kujua tembe. That was absolutely hilarious. And especially with the cutaways, how they come in, while it helps you visualize the comedy that Ty is trying to hint at, and that just takes it way to the max. So those are my top two from the event, because there's still places where you can get to see this film. And once again, make sure you catch it next year, short and shorts. But the most fascinating thing is the theme of it all, which was We Are All African. First, through the film itself, there were performances through poetry, there was performances through, music. The musicians there were very Afrocentric in the way they perform, in the way they dress, the body art that was open to everyone. And of course, we got to the director's lounge and the masterclass, where it's all about making sure that the filmmakers and all the film enthusiasts have been equipped on how to make film in general through AI, through virtual effects, and of course getting the Q&As to hear the perspectives of the filmmakers, so that it feeds into your filmmaking process as well. And I thought that this was a very great initiative, because you not only get to enjoy the film, but you also get to pick the brains behind the genius that we saw on the screen. So if you're really interested in this, make sure you attend these events, because I really felt exposed, you know. And what I would say would be the detriment of it all is, I'd say, just more film, you know, because um, we had the 10 films we watched, and then now there was the director's lounge, what were shots, what were sherehe mko hapo, and then now there was a rerun of the film, which they did it in a very cool way. It's the night time, and then you have your headphones on as the sherehe guys and the shots time continues. So if you can see more film, like, guys, submit your film. Don't be afraid. It says, you know, a whole journey starts with one step. So if you have a weird concept, I would say just start with a short film. And because there is a lot of, the concepts that were on screen, how people are appreciating their cultures, that was something to marvel at. Which brings me to number 2, which was the film that we watched, that was Memories of Love Returned, which was directed by our guests from last week, Ntare Muine. So Ntare Muine is a Ugandan American actor who was featured, who features prominently in this Apple TV series called Smoke, alongside Taron Egerton. And he also features in Dexter Resurrection. So the guy is out there. He's also been in Queen of Katwe alongside Lupita Nyong'o. And so he took upon this journey to document this story once he had this chance encounter with a local photographer in a town called Mbirizi in Uganda, when he went back home, to see his folks. Now, the most fascinating thing about this is, did you know that this film took 22 years? 22 years to make. Because the chance encounter happened in 2022, and then they went about the documenting and meeting all these people who were featured in the photos, trying to create the moments and make a film out of it. And finally, the movie was released in 2024. And then it did a round in continents, and then finally came to Kenya in the form of NBO Film Festival. Now, again, this is what is seconding and cementing my idea that the stories that we need to hear in the African continent, and the secret to telling these stories, African stories that people want to see and to relate to, could be in documentaries, because this thing felt so personal. Imagine having, hearing about a past relatives and never having seen them before. The emotions that arise once you get to see their photos, and then once the photos are out there and put out to the public, people coming out and, giving their own perspective and the stories that they've heard about a certain place or a certain time period or a certain person. It really sparks a lot of conversation. It sparks a lot of appreciation. And that's what I mean by it felt personal, first of all, to the community members, because there was this very touching story of one person in the documentary who lost his parents when he was a toddler. And Ntare hinted at this last week as well. His name was Johnson Makanga, but when you actually get to see the story, you actually see how touching it is. He lost his parents as a toddler, and then when Ntare finally did the documenting of, Chibate is the local photographer who he had a chance encounter with, realized he has hundreds of negatives from the 50s, and then started reproducing his work and exhibited it to the community. So Johnson Makanga went to this exhibition and was like, oh, like, yo, someone came by here and told me they've seen photos of my mother and my father, and then they called me and told me, you've never had a photo of your parents, but once again, here they are. And you can try to imagine how how deep and how appreciative he must have been, just hearing stories of your parents and never having ever seen them ever before, and then finally getting to see them and even see yourself as a kid, thinking that these photos had been lost, and now finally getting the photos and sharing it with your family members and hearing the stories about that particular moment, that time when that photo was captured, what it was like at that time, what your parents were like, what the culture was like. There's also photos of men holding hands, women holding hands, and it raised this question of, same-sex friendships and relationships, especially when now Uganda passed that anti-gay law, and even just holding hands with your brother or even just a relative, as long as you're in the same sex, can have you jailed and have you looked at some type of way. So it was very touching to see how the efforts of one person, or rather two people, can be so life changing in the very smallest of ways that you would think are so mundane, because it's just a picture. But once you get to actually see the reaction of the people around the photos, the curiosity that sparks, how people are starting to talk about their village, how people are hearing stories of how uh, uh, someone else was viewing their mother, it's really touching, and it really brings to question how we preserve the moments in our lives right now. So shout out to Ntaremuine, because taking on this 22-year journey is not an easy task. And you know what's also very interesting is the fact that someone else would see photos and just be like, oh, these are just photos, but he actually saw the potential in it. He saw the need to publish this. He saw the need to share these tender moments with the world, especially when he says he looked at Chibate and felt like this could have been him. So there's a lot of, um, the movie itself has a lot of tender moments. The idea behind the creation of the film itself is also very profound. And again, that to me, if I'm thinking like a businessman, the way Jotham asked us to do, is like documentaries and showing these true life stories fills the gap and quenches the thirst of Africans and Kenyans who are saying, we want new stories, we want entertaining stories, we want to see our stories, because it's very relatable to see a picture and have all those feelings being evoked. So that's one of the best movies I've seen this year. I'm going to put it there in my top 10, because it sounds like a very simple premise, but the moment you get to see it and see how things are unfolding between family and friends, and even within Ntare himself, and the way he shot it, there's beautiful drone shots. There's you can see the varying in quality as he's recording in 2002 and 2021, and people shaking his hands, and his relationship with the family changing. And then there's this one shot where it's him 22 years later, after doing the film and after the unfortunate passing of Chibate, where there's this side by side of him talking to Chibate, and Chibate is like talking to us. It's like, oh, we're actually getting to, especially seeing it on the big screen, and him looking into your eyes and saying, how are you? I'm doing fine now. It was so surreal, and that speaks to the beauty of film, because I don't think if this wasn't done in a film, we would, if it was just pictures shown, and not having the film to give it the context and tell us the stories, it wouldn't have been so hard hitting. And so shout out to Ntaremwine, because I was just mind blown, and I'm gonna glaze this movie a lot. And if you haven't seen it, you can still catch it at I think yeah, he said there's going to be showing it all the way till November 30th from October 27th at Unseen Cinema. CC, of course, we had the privilege of seeing it at NBO Film Festival. And once again, I'm starting to see that this is why we need film festivals, particularly the NBO Film Festival, because if you're really thirsty to see our stories, to hear and see something new, you need to tune in into this. And so once again, we're going to go into a short music break. And then when we come back, we're going to talk about the importance of these film festivals, not just in terms of exposure through the films we've seen, like How to Build a Library and Memories of Love Returned, which are real stories and stories that are making an impact in our society, but what is like the tangible importance of film festivals and why they are the way they are. And leading us into this break is the Sabi girl herself, Ayasta featuring Rema with Who's That Girl? Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, from that fantastic music break. We had Who's That Girl by Sabihal herself, Ayasta featuring Rema. And then we brought it back to the DC fandom with the Peacemaker Season 2 opening theme song, which is Oh Lord by Foxy Shazam. Always love that. And it kind of sets this mood every time you're seeing the show opening. And so I'm like, yeah, adding this to my playlist right now. Finally, we had before that we had Mother by Tyler the Creator of Chromacopia Plus. Now Chromacopia was the album he released last year around the same time in October, and now he's giving us the deluxe version, Chromacopia Plus. So if you haven't had Chromacopia, this is your time. And of course you get to hear the extras like Mother. And finally, bringing it back to East Africa, we had Mawazo by Diamond Platnumz. And this one goes out to you, and shout out to you for putting out your request. And as always, Hatuogopi could go back in time. So once again, that was Mawazo by Diamond Platnumz. Now, before that break, we were doing our review of the NBO Film Festival. And we had just talked about the three things that I personally went to, which was the screening for How to Build a Library. We then got to see Short and Shorts. Then we got to see Ntaremuina's film, Memories of Love Returned. And finally, I got to see My Father's Shadow, which ended up being the grand jury selection winner for the NBO Film Festival 2025. Now, My Father's Shadow follows, the central characters are these two boys who go on a trip to the city with their father. And this is at a time where this is in 90s Nigeria. This is at a time where there's a lot of political unrest. The people of Nigeria are not very happy because the military had taken over the government at that time, and so elections were held, and the people were really looking forward to having their top candidate being the one on the house on top of the hill. But things are unsure because of how the military is acting. So every time you move in the streets, there's this angst you can just feel in the air. There's this feeling of, this country is going to be all right, but right now things are not good. And, that is, we get to feel the tension and the effects of that through the journey of these two boys with their father. And this is also a very personal story about, a man away from home doing his best to make sure that his sons and his wife, his family in general is in a good place, is a home away from home. Trying to make home as much as he's away from home. And, we go through this, we feel his relationship with the boys feeling like dad should be at home more. Does he really love us? And him trying to reconnect with them, and him trying to do that while still keeping them safe as they go into the heart of the city. And, through, we also have this story of financial struggle of the everyday working class man, where your salaries are delayed, yet you're putting in the hours. And, there's so much to balance. And there's also this theme of African masculinity, because one thing that stood out for me that I loved is that, you see that name, My Father's Shadow, it really feels African daddish. Have you ever been with your dad and your dad just knows everyone? You're working with your dad, he knows everyone. Everyone greets him. Hakuna kona aendi hajui mtu. And everyone is always seconding how he's the biggest, the baddest, the meanest, the smartest. And your dad is also always telling you, me by the end ulikuanga number one. I think we've all experienced that. Your dad always having this feeling where your dad is the one who always comes up with a solution. And it did that, where we could feel that Africanacity in how the dad was, and the feeling in how being a kid looking up to your dad and moving around with him in his whereabouts, not understanding anything, but just having that feeling of safety. Like, yeah, if I ask anything, it will be answered, and we'll just be well taken care of. And everything is just so fascinating, especially coming from the village, coming to the city. And it also had this very grainy look and feel to it that brought back that cinematic, that nostalgic kind of 90s feel. It's not a 90s movie, but it looks like it's from the 90s. And that speaks to the talent of Akinola Davis Jr. He did such a wonderful job at actually putting you in the time, visually, with the dress code, thematically, especially how it's set, and this time where it was unfolding, based on real life events, and telling this personal story with themes that are drawn from our own experiences as men, as boys, with our fathers, and how that affects us, and how we yearn for more as boys looking up to our fathers, and what that means and what that looks like in a very African context. It also shone a light on vulnerability, because we don't get to see that side of African fathers opening up to their sons, not just sons, like young sons in their, like 8 and 11 years old, right? You don't get to see a father being so tender and being so open about his love for them, about his childhood. And these are the things that the father in the movie is trying to show to his kids. Seeing what we were yearning for unfold on screen, seeing the ideal that we want, and comparing that to what we have is what really made it very emotional. And it also was emotional in the sense that you could feel for the father, because it kind of puts you in his footsteps, in his shoes, and puts it into context for you, what a father or an African father goes through that you may not be able to see because you are in his shadow just watching. That was the beauty of the film, right? and I see why it won the grand jury selection for the NBO Film Festival 2025. Which brings me to the question at hand, which we are talking about, which we are about to raise. What is the importance of these film festivals? You hear these movies that we've just reviewed. We've just heard that, My Father's Shadow has been selected as by the grand jury of NBO Film Festival as their winner. What does this mean? Now, first of all, let's look at these 3 films. One thing that you may notice, and even when you extrapolate into the international market, films that are outside there that debut or that are screened and chosen to premiere in film festivals, that these are films that are largely indie or independent, meaning they're made by filmmakers, like they're backed by filmmakers independently, not by a production studio. See how the usual or the conventional method is a studio like Warner Bros. Or Paramount or Universal picks a project that they will fund, even if it's been pitched to them by a filmmaker, and then the studio is the powerhouse or is the engine behind the production, behind the production and the marketing, and making sure that the film is out there to the world and people are seeing it. But with independent filmmakers, it's mostly their own efforts, and from time to time, them and their own production company doing most of the heavy lifting in terms of production, and from time to time they get backed by studios like A24, who are heavy on supporting independent filmmakers. Now, film festivals, from my observation, caters mostly to independent filmmakers, and that is the first importance that I see, especially now in Africa, because that is where we really, really, really need these film festivals. Because we're saying, and this, I feel this really encapsulates all those conversations that we've had with our guests from ever since we started this show, talking about distribution with Trushna, talking about the business side of things with Jotham, and how we should offer value to the consumers. The film festivals offer value to consumers in the sense that they offer stories that people are yearning for, things that people have been demanding. We want new stories. We're tired of the same old things that we've been seeing. We don't want the ghetto story anymore. And here we have a festival that is huge enough to draw filmmakers from around the continent to bring you stories that you've never seen before. Something that is homegrown, something that is relatable. That is and that is the value for the consumers. And it is important for the filmmakers because it has offered a platform for them to showcase themselves. Because remember, again, when you're talking about distribution, we really do not have a distribution system in Kenya. And I would take it a step further to say in Africa at large. Distribution system meaning you have a film and then you have a studio behind it that has the proper channels to make sure that your film will go out to various cinemas around the country, around the continent, take care of the marketing, make sure everybody knows what you've been doing behind the scenes, make sure everyone knows the exact release date. So if we don't have those systems in place, where are these independent filmmakers supposed to run to? That's the big question. Where are they supposed to run to? And the answer for that is through these film festivals. where we have like the NBO Film Festival. There's been like Kilifi Film Festival as well. There's been Zanzibar Film Festival. There's a lot of film festivals happening regionally and across the continent, which are hubs, HUB, for filmmakers to come and showcase their works professionally in a sitting with film enthusiasts and lovers like myself and yourself, for them to have their work out there. And it also meets the line where meets the requirement where now, for again, as us consumers, we get to see stories that we've never had before, right? So that's the importance of the film festivals. First of all, is offering value for both audiences to see something that they've never seen before, and of course being a platform for independent filmmakers to showcase their work, because they don't have the conventional means to have their work out there, because they're not backed by studios. So anytime you see a movie opening up with, those two leaves, like, brackets, and then it's like at Sundance Festival, at Cannes Festival, at NBO Film Festival, that's what it means. Like, it showed at these various film festivals, and the aim was to get their work out there to connect with audiences in a more extensive manner that is not in your conventional means and systems. It's not like Paramount will drop a trailer for you and then everyone will just rush to the cinemas. No, you first have to get your audiences together, and then now your audiences will get the word of mouth out there, and eventually when it comes to like streaming, or when it comes to the theaters for a limited amount of time, the community has been rallied together for your film to be seen. So for any filmmakers out there, make use of these film festivals, and to any film enthusiasts out there who are yearning for these African stories, I believe NBO Film Festival and any other film festival happening around you in your region is the place to be. Now, another thing that I've noticed is the shift it has in the culture. A little secret is we have seen a lot of engagement on the ground in the film space with the advent and, with the NBO Film Festival happening in the last 2 weeks. To give you an example, when we had Ntaremwine here on the show, it's an opportunity for international filmmakers to come into the country and relate with the media spaces and the stakeholders within the film community. Like, Ntaremwine came from Hollywood. Of course, now he knows Kenya Film Commission. Now he knows about Certified Cinema, Icon Radio. He knows about other filmmakers whose film he got to see at the film festival. So it also, the film festivals also open up opportunities for people in that region where the festival is happening to connect with other filmmakers from around the world, and get them to connect with their audiences as well. Because if we didn't have the NBO Film Festival, we wouldn't be sitting here talking to you about it, right? And of course, there's the money, because there's the touring bit of things. All these international filmmakers who are coming from wherever they're coming from, they're coming here and spending money. They're spending money on air tickets, on our Kenya Airways. They're spending money on accommodation. They're spending money on transport to the filming sites. They're spending money on marketing, right? Like, they're engaging with our various media and our various thought leaders, right? So it also opens up economic opportunities and adds in a lot of value for wherever these festivals are happening, right? And so, just to cap it all off, what I'm taking away from all of this, and which is what I think matters the most to me, on top of cultivating an industry that will eventually also bring in a lot of opportunities where we can have the system, the distribution system that we are talking about, is that thing that, I'm thinking about that word that influencers don't like to hear. Exposure. Yeah. It brings in a lot of exposure for the filmmakers and for the audiences themselves, like ourselves, to get stories that we have been yearning for, to get original um, pieces that relate to us as a community, and of course, to the filmmakers to showcase their work to the world. A festival at a time, or a step at a time. So that's what I think, guys. If you guys have any other point that you think I may have missed, of course, feel free to share it. On Certified Cinema KE on our comment section on Icon Radio. And of course, you can send a voice note to our WhatsApp on the number running below your screen. And we're going to take a short music break. And leading us into the music break is Rumors by Iani featuring Dufla. And then when we come back, we will get to read the room. We're back. And that was Rumors with Iani featuring Dufla. And after that, we had Sida Makosa by the legendary Lewa Nyika. And that was inspired by Memories of Love Returned, because that song features prominently in the movie and in the trailer as well. And it's a classic, and it's something that is very personal and a favorite for our guest, Ntare Muine. So this one goes out to you, Ntare Muine, from wherever you're listening from Hollywood. I don't know if you've left the country yet, but from wherever you are, Sina Makosa by Lewanyika goes out to you. And then we had the opening for Chainsaw Man season 1, that is Kickback. And Chainsaw Man again is still playing in cinemas. It premiered last week, so if you haven't seen it, run now to cinemas and check it out for the sake of the culture. And finally, K-Tronada with Do It. And I like to say that nothing slaps harder than a K-Tronada kick. So if you haven't listened to K-Tronada yet, just do it. So, ladies and gentlemen, we come to the final segment of the show, which is Read the Room. And this is the segment where we highlight movies and TV shows to watch this week based on global happenings in movies, entertainment, and in current affairs around the world. And for our first pick of the day, we have Regretting You. Now, Regretting You is a movie that has been adapted from the Colin Hoover novel by the same name. Now, Colin Hoover is the same mind that brought you It Ends With Us, which is a movie starring Blake Lively that came out last year. And this year, she is back with another one with Regretting You, starring Dave Franco, who is James Franco's younger brother. So make sure to check it out. It's showing in cinemas this week. Make sure to see it. And of course, as we have been talking about it since last week, ladies and gentlemen, make sure you see Memories of Love Return. I cannot stress this enough. Movie directed by Ntare Muine. Make sure to see it. And this is not just seeing it out of and not a recommendation out of courtesy for the guest that we had, but because I really want you to experience what the power of photography is like. I want you to experience those heartfelt, tender moments of people seeing their photos, seeing the photos of their loved ones, and having those memories of a time past of loved ones unseen and deceased partners, having that love come into their hearts and into their eyes, and the stories that they tell. It was really a thing of beauty to witness, and I want you guys to experience this on the big screen. It's showing in Unseen Cinema from November 27th. Sorry, October 27th all the way to November 30th. So you still have the chance to see it on the big screen. If you're in Nairobi, catch it at Unseen Cinema. Number 3, in the spirit of Halloween, you have to see It, Welcome to Derry. Now, this is a spin off series from the movie It, which is a Stephen King adaptation. Now, this one follows the origin story of Pennywise and his first haunting of the town of Derry. And episode 1 dropped on October 26th, which was this past Sunday. But there will be an early release for episode 2. So usually it comes out weekly. That was Sunday, October 26th, so they're supposed to be coming out every Sunday. But for Halloween, which is tomorrow, there will be an early episode release for episode 2 that is happening tomorrow. So as of today, episode 1, and as of tomorrow, October the 31st, there will be 2 episodes of It, Welcome to Derry. So if you're looking for something scary to watch in the spirit of Halloween, this is it. It, Welcome to Derry. Make sure to see it on HBO Max. Ama watu wa ile site ingine, we don't advocate for that, but tutapatana tu. And of course, once that's done, we come back here, do a breakdown. And something very interesting is I want to talk about why horror movies always feature children. Because there's also children in this. Stranger Things does it. Like, think of any horror movie or any horror TV show. They always feature the haunting of children. Why is that? But we'll get to that after we see It, Welcome to Derry. 2 episodes out as of 2 episodes will be out this week. And finally, we get to watch The Dictator. Now, this is, of course, the classic by actor-comedian Sacha Baron Cohen, and it follows the adventures or the escapades of dictator Aladdin, Aladdin. Now, very funny movie, and I guess this is something that if you're in the film space or if you're into movies, you've heard for a while, but why are we talking about it now? Now, our next door neighbors, the Tanzanians, have just concluded their elections. And there's talks of, there's actually, I wouldn't even say talks. I mean, I would say it's blatant, and everyone is seeing it now that Tanzania is entering into their, maybe I'm even understating it, not entering, are in their dictator era, courtesy of their current president or soon to be, because they went into an election and no one else was on the ballot box but the only Samia Suluhu. Now, all her competitors are, behind bars. And, the stories are that you look at the ballot box and it's just Samia. And the citizens are enraged by this, right? And tumeona maandamano, spirit ya maandamano imefika kule da bana. Watu wameshika pale kwenye streets, wameweka matairi kwenye barabara, wanataka haki yao. And that is what we can pray for our Tanzanian brothers and sisters. We pray that the law takes its course. We pray for justice for you guys. We pray that you finally get democracy, that you get to vote for whoever it is you want to vote for and not for whoever you're being forced to vote for. And this is something that we can borrow a leaf from. We have the power to, select our leaders. We are the ones who decide who gets to lead us, who gets to sit on that chair. So this is again a call to us. The voter registration process is still ongoing. Kama hujachukua kura yako, go out there uchukue kura. Na kama unataka kuona what will happen if you don't chukua ya kura, just go and see what happens in The Dictator. Of course, we get to laugh about it because he got taken out of power. But before that, some nasty and of course funny things happen. So just to rehash and and make the moment a bit light as we talk about democracy and dictatorship in our world, in our region, to our next door neighbors. Let us watch The Dictator. So, to cap it all off, read the room for this week. Number one, Regretting You, followed by Memories of Love Returned, directed by Ntare Mwine. The Dictator, which is the movie starring Sacha Baron Cohen. And of course, in the spirit of Halloween, we get to watch It, Welcome to Derry. 2 episodes will be out this week, episode 1 on Sunday and episode 2 on Halloween. So, ladies and gentlemen, that's all we had for you today. Thank you so much for tuning in to the show. Thank you so much for being here with us on another Thursday, for being here with us on all the Thursdays through everything we've been discussing, all the guest interviews, all the event coverages with NBO Film Festival, the review of the movies we watched, listening into the importance of film festivals and why the kind of movies show in film festivals and not others. And of course, if you have your opinions, feel free to comment on Certified Cinema KE on Instagram or Icon Radio KE on Instagram as well. Or you can send us your voice notes on the WhatsApp number running below your screen. And if you want to get up close and personal, you can shoot me a DM on Campus X at Instagram. And I will see you here next Thursday, once again from 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. And this is Certified Cinema, leaving you with Thriller by Michael Jackson in the spirit of Halloween, which is tomorrow, because this is an absolute banger. The music video is in the spirit of Halloween, and this is an absolute classic. Ladies and gentlemen, your movie reviewer, recommender, and nerd evangelist, Campus Nawiri, out!